And welcome to the Barry Foster Show, broadcasting from the beautiful Ridge Floor Studios in Avon Park, Florida, the city of charm. Remember, if you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions, put them right down here in the comment section. Tell the YouTube algorithm that we are engaged. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can. If you do want to send us an email, you can send one to thebarryfostershow@gmail.com. Remember, please like and subscribe to our YouTube page, and you can join our Facebook and Instagram pages as well. We're delighted to have the beautiful Kayleigh Bush on the line with us this morning. Kayleigh, good to have you with us, my dear.
Hey there, Barry. Thank you so much for having me on and, nailing me down and making a stand for truth. So.
But it's getting our clocks to chime at the same time has not been easy, but we're here now. And I thought maybe I'd start at the beginning because I really got to know you when you were the president of Young Americans for Freedom, and you've just finished your 1 year stint as the head of the YAF.
Yes, yeah, I just gave up my reign at Young Americans for Freedom. I passed the torch actually to my brother, but yeah.
So, with YAF, were you with them before you were the chair? Were you with them for a couple of years?
Yeah, I was with them for a little bit. I had went and seen one of their events where they housed Kristen Hawkins and Daniel DiMartino, and those were really cool events and they really caught my eye. So I said, I want to get involved in this. So, that's kind of the route I take, and ran for president the next year and was elected. So.
Well, you oversaw some pretty important events. Number one, there were a couple of displays on campus there at the Sebring High School, one for Israel and one for the 9/11, which took no small amount of work.
Yeah, so we had some really big events. We did a lot of tabling events. Our 9/11, like you had said, we did a lot of pro-life tabling events. But actually, one of my favorite things that I got to do as Young Americans for Freedom president was I had the honor of leading the initiative and getting a lovely community member, Miss Elsa Kahn's dream to come true by naming our library after a World War II hero. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Thomas McGuire Library, that was a big project, and Elsa Kahn is, I think she's 94. That must have been something for someone who's 19 to be dealing with a 94-year-old lady. That must have been really an interesting project to work on.
Yeah, but we had a great team. Your lovely wife was on there. We had a good little team going for us, so that was pretty fun.
You also housed a very important national speaker that came to the Bill Jean Smith Center.
We sure did. I had one of my biggest accomplishments as well was housing Yenmi Park to come speak to the student body. We had, record-breaking attendance there with all of the students. We had over 400 students come, which is a pretty big deal for Sebring High School, and it was just really cool. Yenmi got to come speak to the kids about, the bad effects of communism and socialism, and the great things about capitalism and what we have here in America. So,
did you get much response from the kids, after school on that? Did you have kids that really liked it, or did they want different kinds of speakers?
I got a lot of feedback that Yenmi was one of their favorite speakers that they had. They especially really liked the Q&A part that we had. There was a really great book signing afterwards, and we got a lot of good feedback and even brought in some new Young Americans for Freedom members. So that was pretty cool.
Now, in addition to your work with YAF, you also have been in beauty pageants. Were you a beauty pageant baby? Did you star in the most beautiful baby pageant, or when did you start getting involved with these beauty pageants?
That's actually a really funny story. People get a kick out of this when I say this, but when I tell them I've been from the pig pens to the pageants, they kind of step back and think, what are you talking about here, Kayleigh? But, I grew up as an all-American daddy's girl. I remember going to work with my dad because he used to haul hay, and us spending those long days working out there. My favorite thing to do was actually climb on the hay bales, but something that people wouldn't expect from me is that I'm not afraid to get a little mud under my nails, but so that's pretty funny. But no, I was never involved in pageants until in 2023. My mom had, I like to say, she threw me into a new pageant, and I was not the happiest about it. I must admit, I always kind of saw pageants as maybe a little silly, just as a big dress and lipstick. But I tell you what, after she threw me in there, I quickly came to realize that that was not the case. I remember being on the way to our interview and looking at my mom and saying, "Did you say that right? Are we actually on our way to an interview?" And she said, "Yes, Kayleigh, the interview portion of the pageant." So there you go. I didn't even know there was an interview portion to the pageant. And through this experience, I was actually crowned the inaugural 2023 Orange Blossom Queen, which was super cool because through all of this, like I said, I didn't know that there was public speaking involved, interviewing skills, promoting your mission and your platform. And so was a really cool experience for me in learning how relevant pageants are today. So
as the Orange Blossom Queen, what were like your duties? Did you oversee the Orange Blossom Festival, or I mean, did you do pageant queen type of events?
So I did a lot of stuff with our ag, specifically the citrus community. As you know, the citrus community is fighting one of its toughest battles right now with greening. So I was there really just to bring light to the great things about the citrus industry and promoting the local ag businesses that we have over in all across Highlands County.
So was that
and Hardin County?
Yeah, was that a precursor to the Miss Florida event? Is that how you kind of was that the moving up the rungs of the ladder, so to speak?
Not necessarily. That was just something that my mom kind of threw me in there. And however, through all of this sparked my love and helped kind of train me in all of this pageant world, I guess, for lack of better terms.
So did you kind of enjoy it? Did you once you got in? Were you like uh, Miss Congeniality there, and of Sandra Bullock? Did you once you got into it, you kind of like girls? Met new people, and was that something you thought? Well, I could have some fun doing this.
Yeah, so actually, like I had said, I had always seen pageants as a little silly, and once I got in there, I was just blown away by, all of the things that all of the characteristics and all of the skills that you can take home from that you can apply to your everyday life. My favorite thing, one of my favorite things was the sisterhood and the community around having this. You have your sister queens that are always there to support you. And it was a really great experience. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? I guess this is a lot more than just a big dress and some lipstick.
So how did you get involved with the Miss North Florida pageant? How did that work out exactly?
So actually, the whole time, I'll say, the whole time I served as the inaugural 2023 Orange Blossom Queen, I had tons of people recommend the Miss America system. It was crazy. Like, whenever you feel like something's speaking to you, or just all of these little pieces in your life are coming up to this one point. Well, that's how it was with competing for the Miss America system. And it was just so cool. And in researching the Miss America organization, I had learned that there's some really great scholarships involved in this. And this was perfect for me because this was a great way to for my college funding for law school, because I aspire to be a attorney for constitutional law one day. I loved that there was also a talent portion in the Miss America system. I have been dancing since I was 2 years old, so I was so excited, and dance was a locked-in deal for me. I also knew about the interviews and the public speaking, which I also absolutely love and wanted to further enhance my skills on. And my favorite thing, I must be that you have to have your platform in your community service initiative through the Miss America system. And my mission that I had wanted to promote, and I did start promoting at the beginning of my reign as Miss North Florida 2025, was inspiring a love of God and a love of America in our generation. So
So how many events did you actually were you able to get in as Miss North Florida?
I think we counted nearly 40 in my short, about a month reign.
So yeah, because what can you explain to us exactly kind of what happened there that everything? Did you number one? Did you expect to win?
So it's funny that you ask if I expected to win because, like I said, we had researched the Miss America organization for a year. Like, we put so much research into this, and we had found that they always stood on traditional values and that they had been empowering women for over 100 years. And I just, like I said, I loved what they stood for. And me and mom had finally decided that I would go compete in Jacksonville, Florida. And, just a few days before that, I had came down with, I'm not sure how sick, what kind of sickness I had, but I'll tell you, I was the sickest I've ever been. And I remember mom helping me get loaded up in the car and loading up that big dress and all the hair and hairspray, or all the hairspray and makeup and all of that. And I really just went into this pageant with a clear conscience and trying to raise up others, because I really wasn't at my best during this time, but I wanted to make it the best experience for my sister queens. Actually, on the way up, a funny story, or a beautiful story actually, is that I was sleeping in the back seat and mom tapped me. Now you gotta picture this. I'm sick as a dog in the back seat. Mom's driving. I'm sleeping, and she wakes me up. You gotta imagine how furious I was in that moment. But she pointed out a crown in the sunrise. So while the sun was coming up on our drive up to Jacksonville, there was this crown, and I remember just thinking to myself, wow, if that's not a sign, then I don't know what is. Um, but back to your question, I really didn't expect anything, but I was really excited to be there and, just like I said, promote my mission, which was inspiring a love of God and country. So
And so you win. You've done like 40 different projects. You're doing all the things that you're supposed to do as the pageant winner, and then something happened. Can you tell us what happened?
yeah, so like you had said, I took the crown that day, and I was blessed with the title of 2025 Miss North Florida. And I also actually had won People's Choice and won nearly $500 for a local veteran center, which, by the way, goes perfectly with my mission. Um, so we were super excited, and I hit the ground with my feet running, that's for sure. But 4 weeks after I was crowned, they presented me with the newly revised contract. Now, let me paint the picture for you. This weekend was a great weekend. I had gone back up to Jacksonville, and I had gotten dinner with all my sister queens the night before. We went and got cookies, and it was a great time. And I remember getting all glammed up together for our photo shoot the next morning, early in the morning. And I remember it was during that photo shoot that they presented me with that newly changed contract. And sitting in the corner, I'll never forget sitting in the corner over with mom. And on page 3, the definition of female had read, and I'll quote, "Born female or an individual who has fully completed sex reassignment surgery via vaginoplasty." And I was shocked. I was blown away. Like, it stopped me dead in my tracks, because this was completely different than the website. I mean, like I had said, we had been researching this pageant for a year, and I believe it still to this day reads, "You must be a female to compete," on their website. So I immediately raised concern. Me and my mom both immediately raised concern, and holding a conference call between a few people. And we made multiple attempts privately to get the Miss America organization to correct their contract. But sadly, it came down to a point to where they said, "Okay, Kayleigh, Sign it or we're going to retire your crown. And I declined to sign because I cannot partner with an organization that claims to empower women but doesn't even know what a woman is.
So let me get this right. After you won, they came with a revised contract and said, "Oh, by the way, the rules that you won under are not the rules that we're going to have now." Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly right.
So, well, how how do you feel about that? I mean, what kind of how do you feel about having them come after the fact and do this?
You know, I feel like no crown is worth a child's safety. And the emotions that I was going through and deciding through this, because I was doing a lot of soul searching during this, I mean, I remember going home that day completely just blown away and so disappointed in the Miss America system. Come on, this pageant's, like I said, supposed to empower women, and now you're making a mockery of them by defining them by just mere body parts. I mean, I remember going home and mom saying, "All right, where are we going to go eat?" And I remember just not even eating that day. It was just so confusing. What kind of message is this sending to our children? So through all of this, like I said, I really was just at a loss for words. It was just really disappointing, really confusing, and really heartbreaking to being able to just, from being so involved in promoting my mission to being at home in bed and scrolling social media and seeing all my sister queens hanging out and doing all these fun things, yet I'm just at home and, my crown sits in a box. So disappointing.
Well, have you gotten a lot of response since this has gone public?
Well, let me run you through what this has looked like since we have gone public. It's like the steps we've sort of taken. So it was a little while ago when me and mom came to the decision to reach out to Liberty Counsel, which, by the way, if you're ever in a sticky situation, Liberty Counsel are the people that you want in your corner supporting you. But Liberty Counsel wrote 2 demand letters for us, just letting Miss America know that, whether they know it or not, their policy defines, and how they define female, includes boys as young as 14 to be medically castrated, and that's not okay. And that is quite literally an abandonment of truth. So, like I said, they've written 2 amazing, not 1, 2 amazing demand letters for me, and we finally decided to go public. We've gotten a great response from it, man. I part of us being so hesitant to go public was, a fear of what would come out of it, what kind of response we would get. But I haven't heard anything negative yet so far. It's just been all positive. And, like when you really think about it, they say, "Oh, Kayleigh, are you sure you're going to want to do this? What about your job opportunities? Your college opportunities? You're never going to be able to get a job. You're never going to get those scholarships for schooling." But I'll tell you what, I haven't experienced any of that negative stuff yet, and it's just been so great, and I just give all the glory to God. So.
Well, we've seen Riley Gaines. We've seen a number of girls' sports team refuse to take the podium when a transgender person has actually won the events. Have you gotten any reach back from those folks saying, we're with you because we've had the same experience?
It's actually been really cool being able to see all the girls that have reached out to me and the girls that I've reached out to as well. I've actually gotten to meet Riley and talk to her a few times, and, seeing Riley and seeing Chloe Cole and seeing all these girls standing for truth just sends a clear message that courage is contagious. And I hope that my stand will inspire others as well to stand for truth.
when they have these events where women are standing up for women's sports, I mean real actually factory model women's sports, are you do you intend to speak, or have you been invited to speak and say, look, athletics is not the only place that this is happening. This is happening to me in the pageant world.
I would absolutely love the opportunity for all of that. So,
Have you found any softening in the stand from the people who changed the rules on you? Have they tried to come and make some kind of an equitable arrangement, or are they pretty stiff necked about this whole thing?
they're pretty stiff-necked. They're pretty arrogant as well. I remember after we sent that first demand letter, which by the way, our first demand letter you can find online at lc.org/crown. But I remember whenever the Miss America Inc. sent theirs back, and it was so hastily written that it was dated wrong. But it was a very ignorant letter, and they definitely, for lack of better terms, failed to read the room on this issue.
Well, I've started to see the news coverage about this. Are you starting to be inundated by radio, TV, newspaper, other kinds of uh, news organizations asking you about your story?
Yeah, you know what? It's been pretty hard to keep up, actually.
Has it been tough for you to deal with a lot of these different kinds of reporters, and have they been uh, have they been adversarial sometimes in asking their questions?
You know, I've I like to be busy. Like I told you, whenever I was crowned originally, Miss North Florida, I hit the ground with my feet running. So I like to be a busy person. But like I said, there's just been so much support, and for the most part, all the interviews and all these opportunities to promote my mission and my Miss America journey, they've all been pretty positive, and everything's gone pretty good so far.
Has it changed your opinion of pageantry in general? I mean, if girls come to you and say, "Gosh, I'd like to be in a pageant myself," do you now caution them about being careful about what could or could not happen to them?
For sure. I mean, definitely the Miss America organization, the crown has lost its luster. I'll tell you that. I'm now getting a peek behind the curtain at what Miss America really is about, I guess. And, you know, I really hope that they'll return to truth. But there's definitely great pageants out there, especially those small town ones. And I applaud them, and I'm happy that they still, stand on truth and know what a woman is. So,
As people begin to find out about this, have you set up, I don't know, social media of some description? I mean, like we're old people, so we mentioned Facebook, but I mean, are you on Snapchat or Discord, or I don't know what the young people's social media sites are, X or maybe Instagram? Have you set up places where people can find out more and maybe have some back and forth with you?
yeah, definitely anyone can definitely follow my story at lc.org/crown. Again, that's lc.org/crown, or thecanceledcrown.com. I do have a Facebook, Instagram, and X account. Those are all the.canceled.crown, although I believe X is just canceled crown. But those are definitely ways that anyone can reach out or express their support or whatever. I'm grateful for all of it. So
Are there people offering any kind of help or support for you through any of your social media channels?
not yet necessarily, but we're praying for big things. We're gonna see what God does with it.
So what's next for Kayleigh Bush? What are your plans for the near future here?
You know, I really am not 100% sure. This is all coming so fast. I hope to one day work with legislation to get this problem fixed and that it goes all the way to the White House. So,
So are you fixing to go to school to be a lawyer when you grow up?
Like I said, that's the goal. Although the Miss America organization is a big part in how I planned on paying for that, I definitely really love the idea of my journey being, constitutional law.
So okay, Kayleigh, once again, give us that. It's LC slash. Give me that one more time.
lc.org/crown, or my Facebook, Instagram, or X at the Canceled Crown.
At the Canceled Crown. Well, Kayleigh, best of luck to you. Now, you keep us informed on what's going to happen here, and anything big happens, you will check back with us, won't you, please?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This was a great opportunity, and I love everything that you do, and like I said, thank you so much for having me on.
Kayleigh, thank you. We cannot appreciate you enough. Once again, that's LC, letters LC .org/crown, or at the Canceled Crown on Facebook, Instagram, or on X. You've been listening to the Barry Foster Show, coming to you from the beautiful Ridge Floor Studios in the City of Charm, Avon Park. If you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions, please drop them in the comments below. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And stay tuned. We'll have more for you as we seek truth, justice, and the American way. And we'll see you next time.